Do the countdown, sure.
Go ahead.
All right, we're on.
Great.
Calling to order the North Hudson Plan Commission meeting on Wednesday, November 20th. And I guess we start with a roll call.
Members Anderson,
Present.
Bachman,
Here.
Desario,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Ryder, Warner,
Here.
Zeiss.
Here.
That's good. I guess the first order of business would be the approval of the August 21st meeting minutes, which were in the first packet. I guess they're in the packet.
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Second.
Motion accepted. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Can we name those names?
DeCicero
Did
made the motion.
And seconded by Warner.
Okay.
And just stepped in. Ryder is present. Ryder is present. Thanks.
Boat right there.
So that's approvals passed. And now we're opening a public hearing on the conditional use permit of Robert Wasserman on behalf of Independent Hail Company to operate the paintless auto hail repair business at 726th Street. Discussion and recommendation. So I think usually we would have the applicant speak about it on your own behalf. You kind of need to go there because it's basically on the television channel and the microphone needs to be.
All right, well, I'll speak loud. So anyway, our company, we do hail repair. It's paintless dent repair. We work directly with the insurance companies, so when there's hail damage in the town or in suburbs or what have you in Minneapolis, we pick up their cars. We work directly with insurance. We fix each vehicle. There's no paint whatsoever, no electrical, nothing whatsoever. So it's quick. It's all done professionally. We have employees and technicians that come out and fix each vehicle. It takes about a day or two. We work directly. We did the police vehicles a couple years ago in Hudson, and we have shops around the country, but we'd like to make this our permanent shop up here. Anything else?
What's some
Store vehicles there?
Yeah, good question. That's what my question was.
What's the question?
Are you storing vehicles there? What's the maximum number of vehicles you have there at one time on site?
We can have up to about 6 or 7 maximum inside the bays, but we typically keep it about 2 to 3. In one bay we keep 2 cars, and the other bay we keep 1. We typically do not bring cars in until they've been approved by the insurance company and they're ready to work on. And typically it takes about a day and a half to fix the vehicles. So we never want to have cars sitting around waiting for them to be fixed. Our strategy and our relationships, we just get everything approved by the insurance company. We bring the car in, we give them a rental car, we fix a vehicle, bring it right back directly to the client. So you'll never see many cars sitting around whatsoever. I mean, unless there are people from the village who can't park over there, so, we keep it pretty simple.
And the cars are coming from where?
Well, depending on where the hail damage was, this past year, we've been going to Oakdale, Minneapolis, Woodbury. So what we'll do is, if they have insurance issues with the hail damage, we will go over to the area that was hit. We work with the insurance company, and if they have hail damage, we'll send in an estimate and photos. They approve it. We'll pick the car up from whatever town they're in, bring it over. We don't have any insureds bring their vehicles to our shop. We typically do the valet service, and we started that back a few years ago when COVID started. So
Your location is where?
right, 726th Street North. It's right across from the village.
No, your main location where you operate out of, home base per se? It seems like a satellite area.
Well,
Is this a home base or a
Well,
satellite?
actually, we want to make this a home base. I love it up here. And when we came up a couple years ago, just fell in love with the town, and so I'd rather have this. We have shops in Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, wherever it hails primarily. But, right now I'd rather be up here than anywhere else, so. But we do have to go other places for hail. If it doesn't hail, we go broke if we stay in one place. So I do have shops elsewhere, but we'd like to make this our home base.
So you think it's gonna hail a lot here?
Well, it didn't for 15 years, and then all of a sudden it keeps hailing. So, we'd like to have it hail across the waterway so that you guys do not have to deal with that whatsoever. Yeah.
I drive by there every day, and you don't know anybody's there most of the time, except for the sign out front, the little triangle sign.
There was one on the side of the building.
That says car wash though, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, we had moved that. So typically we don't really have any marketing whatsoever. We don't do any online or anything like that. When it hails, we go out through our relationships that make introductions for us, and we go meet people in person. There'll never be a group of cars coming up to get a free estimate whatsoever, So we try to do it in an orderly fashion. So as our neighbors at the liquor store, they can't stand, people blocking the way coming in whatsoever. So we try to respect everybody. And we want to control the situation, and we don't want people coming up trying to get free estimates. So, that's why we keep low-key with the advertising whatsoever. So.
What's the nature of your process that you use to repair? I guess what I'm getting at more specifically, is there much debris left over after you work?
No, there's no debris whatsoever, unless a car was hit so hard with the hood that we replace it, but we take the hood up to a dumpster somewhere else, or we give it back to the people who gave us a new hood, and they just they refurbish it or what have you. But there's not, typically we take the car apart, we take the lights out, we take the hood, we drop the headliner, and our guys just use these long tools and just push the dents and massage them back into place. So there's nothing left over whatsoever. There's no debris except, us eating garbage cans. We use the Gov's dumpster. We pay them on a monthly basis to throw our garbage away. So we try to keep it as clean and, yeah, we try. We don't have any excess materials whatsoever.
And do you own the property?
No, we do not. Gary and Mark Zappa own that property, and we just started renting it a couple years ago.
So you're the same entity that's been there
Yes.
since the last hailstorm?
Yes.
The last big one. And I notice your plan indicates kind of you're on the end units, kind of the ends with the two bays in the middle that are still the utility
The
room.
bay in the middle is still has all the washers and dryers from Cozy's that caught on fire, but we only need the bay on the right side and the bay right next to the liquor store.
Right.
But we typically, unless it's 22 where it was such a horrible storm, and typically we only need two bays, one bay on the right side and the small bay. So I typically won't have more than 2 to 3 guys, because our guys are really fast when they fix the vehicles. It goes very quickly. We're in and out, so we try to keep it a tight, small family.
What are the advantages of North Hudson having this property there and used as a repair facility? What good is coming of this to us, the citizens?
Well, we spend a lot of money around the town, and we obviously help the people, the citizens that have hail damage, or sometimes if they've gone in a little bumper or something like that, we typically help out the people around town if they have dents in a car from door dings and stuff like that. We try to encourage and just help the community out as much as possible, give back as much as possible. So,
you have a lease for this property. You rent it, right?
we rent it, yes.
And how long is the lease good for?
We just work directly with. It's on a day-to-day basis with the Zappas, and you know, it was a test trial at first, and now we have such a great relationship. It's just on a monthly basis.
So you could leave tomorrow. I mean, there's nothing holding you in terms of a lease.
Well, for me, we have a relationship, like such as when Cozy's caught on fire, they needed that extra bay so we let them use that. But we pay on a monthly basis, whether we're here or not. You know, like during the winter time when it gets cold, I have to be at other shops around the country. Unless it hails or we have a few people who need fixing, then I'll come back up and work. But typically, we try to give back to the community as much as possible. And I would like to find a house to buy up here, so I like to be permanent. So it's kind of nice to have a business up here as well.
In a conditional use circumstance, what's our obligation in terms of if the village makes a decision to allow conditional use, then what does that mean for the village?
Well, it's a zoning decision. And what the zoning code says is that use could be appropriate if certain conditions, that's why it's called conditional use instead of permitted use. If it's permitted use, they don't even have to be here. The conditional use is, the board had made a decision that this use is possibly appropriate, but it allows the village to put conditions that, could impact noise, traffic, outside storage, things that would impact the neighbors of the community. Sometimes you want to put those conditions on. Sometimes you say, this isn't going to have much of an impact, and we don't need to have conditions. Hours of operation, lighting, it's all those things that would maybe impact the neighbors or the surrounding area.
I guess I have a deep-rooted concern, and that is the area behind that facility is littered with junk. I don't know who owns that property. Maybe the village does, but it's unsightly. It's dangerous. I don't understand why the village has allowed that for so long, but I'm concerned that it's going to accumulate more stuff from this particular business. I'm also concerned that there's no real obligation for the tenants in this circumstance to maintain the residents there and the property. So I see this as providing little for the village in terms of a good business partner.
Well, I think I'm not sure it's the village's job to say that a business has to require a 10-year lease in order to do business in the village, or, something like that.
I think what it kind of brings up is the point that, one, we're here today, and not, you said after the trial period, so it's been a couple years, but it is zoned to C1. It is not a retail walk-in, walk-out shop. That's why we're here, is because we're making this conditional use unit to have him run an auto body shop. But it is also just, it's not zoned right, and I bring that question up, and he brings that point up, is Mr. Zappa's property there, that it is, the Zappa brothers. How is that zoned, and is it hitting us? What impact will this business have on that zone and that property?
Well, can I comment on what I see? So I go to the village in almost every morning for breakfast, and it's literally, I can look out, I see that building every day. And if you didn't know they were in there working, you would never know they were there.
Oh, I completely agree. They are out of the way.
And the debris in the back has nothing to do with
Yeah.
that facility.
It's more of a zoning issue and property, but I know their impact very low, hardly ever there. When you are there, boom, 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 in and out. Seems like you stay out of the way of people coming in and out of the liquor store in that area. It's part of being a business in North Hudson. What's it bring us? I don't know. He's got an LLC. He spends money over here. goes out, that property is being used. As long as I think it meets code and gets, fire department comes in and passes code, the building hasn't been used in a while, it's being used as something else. I think if the building's up to code and it can fit the use of them, and it's not any environmental fire hazard or anything else, and it's not, I don't see the liquor store here to give a view or anybody else to express their opinion on this conditional use, but that'd be my thought on it. I don't know what anybody else has a thought on it.
I think currently the car wash, which is sitting there, is non-conforming as well. So that actually didn't meet the zoning requirements either. This has been there and operating, it seems pretty compliant with the neighborhood and not stirring up trouble and not having parking issues. I think the conditional use permit, if granted, would be perpetual in nature, and perhaps we should look at an annual consent, see how it goes for a year, and if there is problems, we'd have a chance to, vet those on an annual basis instead of just approving a perpetual agreement. Otherwise, it looks like you've been a good neighbor.
We try. Yeah, we worked out everything with the liquor store the first week. So it's never been an issue since then. So we try to respect everybody else and, and do everything we can to help each other out. Just act as a great neighbor. We love the area. Well, I do when I say we, but we try to take care of everyone and help everyone out and do the best we can. So.
I think you supported the car shows on Saturday too by giving them electricity and such and
Oh yeah,
tables.
yeah. We move if there's ever an interference. We let them. We move cars inside or what have you, or we actually close down for the weekend whenever the car shows are there as well.
So, can I make a motion that we recommend to the board the approval of
Yeah.
the temporary use?
There are some, there's a list of possible conditions that we could add. Have you seen that? So, on your motion, I guess I would say that we would include these 4 items. All operations shall comply with federal and state regulations, local ordinances, and state fire and NFPA codes. Property must pass a satisfactory fire inspection. Sign permit must be issued by the building inspector prior to any sign being installed. I'm not sure right now you think you're putting signs on the building, more or less, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think you need to validate that through the, with the municipal code. The signs shall be in conformance with section 98-102 signs of the municipal code. This is all, I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen this?
No, I have not.
And hours of operation to be Monday through Saturday. It's showing 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. as the maximum limit. I think they're looking at a 12-hour time
that's
of
fine,
operation. Monday through Saturday, not Sunday. And does that, are those
that works for us.
compliant to you? So I would say that those items would be included as part of the motion. So you
So how do I do that?
just say yes.
Yes.
Approve. So we have a motion
You need a second.
and we need a second.
Is it moved? You have to vote?
Yeah,
And
but
then
we need a second.
We need a
first.
second to,
And is your motion for this to be perpetual in nature, so one-time granting and continues on?
Yeah, because, yeah. I mean, it's been there for a while, and there haven't been any issues. So I'm looking at it, in fact, like I say, I go across the street almost every morning for breakfast, and you don't even know they're there. They're working inside a garage.
Paul, my question, can we make a unique situation where we make it, on a time basis, or is it based, we have to change the ordinance if we change something with a cup?
Well, if you want to put an annual review in there, you would list that as a condition.
You
that's
would.
part of the conditions, I think, yeah.
Let's add that.
For the review in a year.
Doesn't sound like that's part of the motion right now.
Right. Okay, I'm just curious. I mean, just didn't know if that would be a blanket across the whole village decision when it comes to some type of use permit.
I mean, a one-year review is not a big deal. If we had complaints about it or something, we'd know about that.
Right.
So I think, and would you accept that as
Sure. Yes.
amendment for a 1-year review cycle. So that would be an addition, a fifth item. So with that and these five items, we have a motion and a second.
I'll second it.
Seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. So, motion is passed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Robert.
think, so that will go to the village board with those conditions, and I mean, I can give that to you if you'd like to have it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yep, thanks. All right, thank you all. The next item is the concept
This is a concept review.
review.
We, just so everybody knows, we met with the applicant and staff on Monday to try to get this project moving in a positive direction. And we suggested that to get some feedback from the plan commission, they come tonight with a concept. So if there was any potential issues before they started spending money on more detailed plans and specs and things, that would give the planning commission a chance to grant that feedback. So
Yeah,
here they
so
are.
this is the concept plan for development of the 1880 garage condos at 207 Monroe Street North.
Yeah.
I think we have it all. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
And
We need one extra copy.
are you Steve? Yep. Yep, okay, thanks, Steve. Thanks for being here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Kind of a miniature barn and
This is the most important document right here. My printer test page.
So,
Steve, could you introduce yourself, please?
Steve McFarland, I own End of the Road Properties. End of the Road Properties owns the three rail shops that are on the northwest corner of the, it's, the official address is 207-215 Monroe Street. And we've owned the property now since roughly 2014. So originally, I think last time that we were together, we were operating what used to be St. Croix Storage and Transfer out of the rail shops. After we went through the acquisition, there was some, baggage with that. So we changed the name to 1880 Warehouse. We continued to run the warehouse there for probably 3-4 years. We outgrew that, and instead of building more warehouse space in the middle of the town and creating more headaches for everybody with semi-traffic, we picked up and we moved out to Roberts. So, and the business,
Nice facility out there.
Thank you, thank you. The business has exploded, so there's no way that we could have stayed here without causing huge problems for the town. Just the semi-traffic running through residential areas, it was a bad thing from the start. It was what we inherited, and we moved out of it. Since then, we've obviously had a lot of things go on. COVID happened. We also own the south part. We own what is called Building 2. So is everybody familiar with the buildings in the rail shop area? We called it Building 2. It's the longest building on the south end. It actually sits between the mini storage and the outdoor storage. We had Building 2 and we had the mini storage units. We expanded on the mini storage units. That's the last time that we were together. And during COVID, we had Badger State Storage came to us and made a completely ridiculous offer on that property. We had planned on holding that property forever, but the offer was just so stupid that we had to take it. So we sold off that part of the property, which is Building 2, the mini storage units, and the outdoor storage. That piece of land is, trying to remember the address of that. For years and years, it was 239 Monroe Street, but 239 Monroe Street actually doesn't exist. That was something that we found out through our due diligence. So, but that end of the property is now Badger State Storage. And we own not the Bugatti building, which is, we call Building 3. And I'm sure all of you are very familiar with that building. It's been a problem as long as we've owned the property over there, again, 2014. We own the next building north, which is we call Building 4. Building 5 is the cement tip-up. That building burned down, the original Building 5 burned down in, I want to say it was the 80s. and then Building 6 is the far north building. So it's the building that borders the path that runs between Galahad and the rest of the village. So the plans that are in front of you are for that Building 6. The buildings are, as you know, old. I read something somewhere that had them dated in the 1890s, but the buildings actually date back to the 1880s. And Building 6 has, not been utilized too much since the warehouse moved out. There's been some storage there. One of our tenants, Glenbrook Lumber, who is the tenant in Building 5, occasionally leases space from us in Building 6. But for the most part, it's just been a storage facility. We've had things come in, go as storage, not like warehouse, but more long-term storage. It's cold storage. The building's not heated. There's electricity. There's sewer and water that are not hooked up. But that building has basically sat mostly vacant for probably 3 years now. I don't know how familiar you are with the what's called man caves or garage condos, but for whatever reason, those things have caught fire and they're everywhere, including Troy Township that built, I don't know, I think they've got 40 to 50 units down there off of Exit 3 now.
Right off Highway 35.
Yep, right off of Highway 35, just off of Glover.
Yep.
There's units up in Somerset at the old drive-in that have been built out. All of those owners are basically fully subscribed, fully built out, have a waiting list. And it just dawned on me like, hey, what a great use of Building 6 if we can do that. We work with RJ Ryan. They've been our contractor forever, and they put these plans together. And we looked at a concept of turning Building 6 into garage condos, aka man caves. So where we're at right now is I think that it's a great concept. I think that it brings a lot of value to North Hudson. One, because it's actually going to restore a historic rail shop. Everything that we're doing is restorative. So if you look at, and we've handed the plans over to Tony, your inspector, and it's all restorative, new roof. We'll actually tuck all of the brickwork. So if you've been into the rail shops, you can see that, those bricks are so old that they start, falling apart. So part of our plans is to completely tuck the outside of the building, put all the bricks back, restore the exterior of the building, put a new roof on, and then use on the north end where the actual doors are or were, some of them got cinder blocked in before we bought the building, use those doors just like they were before, except they'd be garage doors. And then on the north side, if you look at A3, which is this page of the packet, you can see the north elevation, which is in the middle, towards the bottom, second from the bottom. There, the windows go nearly to the bottom of the building, and we would carve those out. We'd leave the tops of the windows in place to keep the historical look to the building, and then put garage doors in below those windows. On the east end of the building, where the two levels exist, there used to be office buildings for the rails. All of those windows would be replaced. So right now, that building is all boarded up. The doors would be, the old doors that are falling apart on the north side would be replaced with new doors. The boarded up windows on the north side would be replaced with doors. The boarded up doors on the south side would be replaced with new doors. And then all of the boarded up windows would be replaced with windows. The use of the property is not that different than what's already allowed as a use. However, if you look at the use in the ordinance, it says storage, which is what we're talking about here, but it says for rent or, I believe it says for rent or wholesale customers. So the difference that we're proposing here is that we want to condo these. So that's one change, is we would submit a condo plat for this. And the other difference is it would be storage, exactly like the use permits, but the reason that we're looking for a conditional use is because it's not going to be rented space, it's going to be owned space. So had there been an extra word in the use of own versus rent, I don't even think we would need a conditional use permit. It would fall exactly right into what was intended. And I think it's going to be actually better in that neighborhood than, say, somebody using it for a warehouse or a shop or anything else for that matter. I think garage condos fit more into a residential area, and it'd be a better transition to the neighborhood, in my opinion.
Steve, this is historical type building, isn't it though? I mean, do you have to follow any requirements on the historical side of it as far as repair?
But he says they're gonna restore all the windows.
Yeah, I mean,
Back to what it was.
did you have to restore it to a certain guidelines though? My question is?
No.
I'm not sure that
So-
these are registered.
So if we talk about the Bugatti building, what he did, the owner of the Bugatti building,
Well, we can kind of
if you look
forget
at-
about that building because there's been a lot of problems.
let me
there.
explain what's going on there.
Yeah.
So when you end up on the historical registry, there are levels. It's not one fits all. You don't go on the historical
Okay.
registry and you're all treated the same. There are levels inside the register. If you are an acknowledged historical site, you are typically placed on the registry, like it's acknowledged. You're acknowledged that, hey, this is a historical building.
So is this knowledged?
This is acknowledged, yep. But as you go up the chain, they start placing restrictions on you.
Yep.
Okay, but that is voluntary. So you would have to voluntarily say, I want to be at level 3 on the historical registry. What that does is it opens you up for tax breaks.
Right.
And they will also help you do restoration.
Right.
But as you climb that ladder, you are restricted to how you restore.
Okay.
So the reason that we're having so many problems with the Bugatti building, if you don't know this, is that guy went to the top of the registry.
Yep.
And he thought that by doing that, and the reason I know this is because he tried to talk me into doing the same thing.
Yep.
And what I explained to him was, yeah, they might give you 25 to 50% reimbursement on restoration, but your restoration is going to cost you 4 to 5 times more because you have to use historical building materials to restore that building. It's astronomical.
Right.
So, yes, we're on the registry, but no, I have not voluntarily put myself up on the list because I know how expensive it is to do those things.
Right.
And when I'm talking about historic materials, it's like you have to find old stone, you have to find old timbers, you have to find old windows, old window panes, you have to do things. It's ridiculously cost prohibitive. So we have not done that. However, what we're doing to the building is going to restore it to the way it looked when it was built in the 1880s, with the exception of the garage doors, obviously. But the rest of it is going to look as it was originally designed and built.
So when you go over there, there's like a steel building between two of those buildings.
It's a cement tip-up, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
The
Building
link.
5. That replaced the original Building 5 back in the 80s when Building 5 burned down.
Okay.
There's
That
a-
building
then
will
there's-
still be there the way it is, right?
Yep,
That's
and
what I'm
that's, Glenbrook Lumber is in there right now as a tenant.
Yeah, okay, and then their fence butts up to that building you're talking about doing it to, correct?
Yes,
You're
yep.
talking about using?
Yeah, so the lease that they have with us allows them to use that space right up to Building 6, but in the lease, we have the right to claw that space back and move them back into what is the Lot 250. So yes, they're renting space on what is called Lot 207, but we're going to claw that back and have that be an entryway into that building.
Yeah, I was just looking there now, and there's materials all right in front of your building doors. You're
Yep.
going to take a
Peel that all the way
60, 90-foot swath of that and
Yep.
say, you know,
Yeah.
this is where cars need to maneuver in, and
Yep.
trailers or whatever.
And to accommodate Glenbrook, what we'll probably do is we'll have them move those materials in between what we call Buildings 5 and Building 4. So there's a loading dock in between the buildings. If you're familiar with them, there's a loading dock. Behind that loading dock, the loading dock is not very deep, and behind that loading dock is a very large area
Yeah.
between the two buildings.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was designed by Zappa to actually be able to park semi-trucks and we'll put lumber there.
So it's a long-term strategy then to do, so you own two of the old building. You got 3 buildings, but 2 of them are the old buildings, right?
Yep.
So is your strategy ultimately to have both those old buildings done?
So the thing that would prevent me from doing something with Building 4 is whatever happens to Building 3, the Bugatti building.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not going to touch Building 4 with that mess sitting next to it. I won't. And on the north side of the Bugatti building is where they keep their mess, which is right across from Building 4.
Did you have that for sale for a while?
Yes, our buildings were for sale for a while. Yep,
Okay,
yep.
okay. Well, I happen to own one of those condos, car condos.
Okay, great.
So
I
I'm
need to move to
biased.
North Hudson.
I mean, I just look at it, and I sit there and, I moved here about 7 years ago, and I looked at those buildings, I'm like, this is the ideal place to put car condos because they got cool architecture, they're, off the beaten path. I mean, if I would've had the money, I would have liked to have done something like that.
So I'm a little ignorant. Can you just kind of explain the process? You just basically own a garage?
So basically what you do is you buy the building, it's a condo, just like a condo that you buy that you live in, but you don't live in these. You park your car in it, like mine, I put a second floor in it, I got a big screen TV with a leather sofa, slot car tracks for my grandsons. Then I got 2 car lifts and I store four of my toy cars there. I mean, it's just a place where guys go to hang out and have fun.
Can I ask what the normal
are you up
size
by
of one of these
35?
garages would
Are
be?
you-
You know, I-
The standard unit will be about 1,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
So,
They're big.
and in our conditional use permit, you'll see that what I'm asking for, what I specify in there is 20 or fewer. So what we found is that when these go up, and you can attest to this if you own one, sometimes people want multiple units.
Yeah.
So instead of building it out as 1,000 square feet, we might sell 2 or 3 units as one, and then build it out as a 3,000 square foot unit instead of a 1,000 square foot
wow.
unit.
Yeah, and then I just paid my condo fee today, in fact, for my 6 months. But I mean, and the thing is, it attracts positive people, okay? There's more Porsches in our complex than there are Pintos, okay? So it attracts people
Well, I don't-
that spend
yeah.
money in the community as well. Car people like to show their cars.
Yep.
So the opportunity to have events that have positive impact on the community, in my opinion, is great because it brings the kind of people you want. If that makes sense.
Well, when I drive back there, I gotta go through potholes and gravel and mud. Not the place I'd want to be taking my Porsche through to go to my garage storage. And I see your plan also doesn't even have asphalt around the lot.
It does, actually.
Does, yeah,
I
it
didn't see
did.
it.
Yeah, this one does
So
here.
it might,
But as far as the approach coming in.
Right, it's a good
you know,
point, though, yeah.
so
A little different.
yeah, Monroe Street, I think, now that we've got somebody in the BOH building that I think will contribute, so it's basically up to the people that own the property back there to maintain that. The actual road, Monroe Street, that snakes back there, isn't in too bad a shape. It's when you get a field from it a little bit that it's broken down on the edges and things like that. So our plan actually has to pick up from Monroe Street and have pavement or asphalt all the way around the building. And it'll actually have a cement apron in front of the doors. So we think that we've got that pretty well covered.
And do the association bylaws then prevent these from becoming somebody running a fix-it shop and those kind
Yes.
of things? We have strong association rules for.
We will have strong association. So we'll have to draft exactly that, and we'll learn from other associations, like the one in Troy, for instance. Tony, your building inspector, has actually done a lot of the work with the Troy garages, and he's learned a ton about what not to do down there. So we're going to use him and his experience and what they've experienced in terms of homeowners association rules and regulations.
Yeah, so I see the plumbing's being done in the bathrooms but there's no plumbing within the side of these condos, right?
Well, what we're going to do, so we're encouraging them to use the common facilities, right? So we're going to have bathrooms down there, and they can do that. But we're also going to give them an option. If they want to put a bathroom in, they'll be able to. So
Okay.
down the center of the building, where there's a corridor that runs down the center of the building to give them access to the common space. Down that corridor will be electric, gas, water, and sewer will run down there and be stubbed in. Now, me personally, if I could walk down the hall and use common facilities, I wouldn't spend the money to put in an ADA bathroom.
Yeah, they have to pay
which is
for it.
what they'd have to do, right?
right.
They'd have to pay for that build out. But there's going to be some people that might buy 3 units and want a bathroom in there. We'll give them that option.
So you mentioned that there, maybe if you might buy 2 adjoining, would that affect how you build out these spaces?
Yep.
Because
They'll be-
you might not do the doors on all the spaces. You might have the bay windows go down, or how
No,
do you feel about
the
that?
doors are going to, whether they buy 2 units or 3 units, the doors, the
gonna do doors
external look and feel is what you're looking at right now. So if they buy 3 units, they're gonna get 3 doors. Now, if they wanna seal off 2 of the doors, that's up to them. But we're gonna keep the look consistent. We don't want it to be a patchwork of, this guy doesn't want his door, so he wants windows. That would be hideous.
I just, those doors then that face north are big doors.
Yeah.
They are massive doors.
The ones that are there are massive.
Well, no, the ones that face north.
Yeah, that are on
Those
the
are all
building
bays.
right now are massive.
Well, the ones that face south. You're talking about the ones that face south. There are no doors that face north.
Oh, I'm sorry, north. Yeah, north.
yeah, so those are just windows.
Yeah, those are actually, those doors.
I can't
are-
see on this plan what the sizes of those doors are.
They're probably
big.
12-foot doors.
Yeah, they're
they're
12 foot
they're
wide?
in here.
12 foot tall.
12 tall by,
Yeah.
Probably 12 by 12 is what my guess would be. Maybe they're 10 by 10. I'd
seen
have
them
to
on the
look.
spec.
Yeah, I do too.
Steve, are you getting any closer to that path that separates Galahad and Cherry Circle there? That one walk,
Nope.
you're not going to be, okay.
No, I ain't closer.
I see a positive here because the fact is there's a lot of dust that accumulates behind that building.
Yep,
And I know some residents have definitely complained about that.
yep.
So you're going to be improving that at least.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think, you guys with cars make noise.
Well,
Can I just
these
comment on
cars.
that? Let me just comment on
Is there
that.
an issue
Okay,
there?
so I'm in a complex full of car guys, right?
Yeah.
You're not getting a guy with his 63 Nova with a blower on it, making all kinds of noise. You got normal people, because these things are gonna cost a couple $100,000. They're
Yep.
not gonna cost $35,000. So the kind of person that you're gonna attract isn't the kind of guy that's gonna sit out there and do burnouts in the parking lot. You're attracting the kind of person that's, got like a late model Corvette, or he's got some classic hot rod. I mean, at least that's my experience, okay? And I go to car shows at a lot of different car condos in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. And you just don't have, my experience is you don't have those kind of people,
Right.
okay? I mean,
Your 20-something can't afford the couple hundred.
No, right.
yeah.
Well, some can.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
But the point
Dad
is, you're not attracting that crowd.
Right.
They
The
can
question came up earlier
out of
about
everywhere.
what benefit is there to the village? I mean, you're talking about a building that has a very low value right now on your tax rolls. That's going to take a pretty big jump. I mean, if you think about
Being a
these units
consumer
going for
base.
between 2 and 250 each, and you multiply that by 20, you can kind of get an idea on what's going to happen to the property
These are
value. of
individual
this one.
ownership occupied.
Yeah.
I mean, they are owned or property tax as a private revenue or private
Yep.
ownership.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you
Like a
can,
cabin.
you
I
can
think your
live
price
in,
of, the price.
Can't live in them.
Can't live in it.
Not be allowed to live in them.
Right.
Now,
That's why I
I
asked
know,
about the
I know
plumbing.
that there's,
Somebody-
like, when
somebody
you
might
see
lose
some of
sleeping on
these
a
that are
couch.
done, he's seen some of these. I mean, they'll be lofted. There will be people that have their kitchenette in it. They've got their big couches in it. They've got their big screen TVs all over the place. There are going to be people that fall asleep on their couch overnight, but no, they're not
Yeah.
allowed to live in it. Tony was telling me that some guy down in the Troy garage just bought 4 units, put over $500,000 into them on top of the purchase price. So he purchased 4 of them for $190,000 each, put another $500,000 in it. He says it's like walking into a sports bar. There's 12 big screen TVs all over the place. The guy's got a few $1,000,000 worth of cars in there. He says it's ridiculous. Those are the type of people that we're talking about.
Big fan, by the way. Love the concept.
that are gonna eat breakfast with you
I
at the
think
village.
that having a building like this, I mean, this is perfect. I get it. Absolutely get it. Yeah, people have been wanting this area, wants to see something happen to the historic train. More than just fires that people talk about forever. There's some
Didn't
of
have a
your,
fire while I was there.
have any of that wood still? The guy at Bugatti does. No, I've seen these things, and they're beautiful. I've worked on them over in Minnetrista, and that's big bucks. And these guys buy them out, and yes, they have whatever they want because they can. The build-outs, they get out whatever they can. I guess I don't know what's running back there for utilities and sewer, if it can handle
So there's no
the amount
Galahad,
of Super
just
Bowl
talking about-
flushes or something like that when it's hanged out. I guess that would be my one question is, what's going back there, in my opinion, is, and could it handle this extra amount of living space and people living there.
Yep.
And that's what these are. These are day livers. Yep, they crash there, but they have people over, they entertain. These are built to suit. So yes, kitchens, bathrooms,
Hours on it.
they pay for it, they get it. I guess as long as the utilities can handle that back
Yep.
there. And I don't know what's back there, but
Like Robert.
I guess that'd be the other thing. I'd love to see some life come back in there.
7 in the morning.
These people will spend money in town.
Yeah,
They'll eat, they buy booze.
Yep.
Wonder why we don't have a grocery store for them. And we'll just be like, there's a Quick Trip right there.
they'll be all over
So
the
lucky.
quick, they'll be all over that Quick Trip.
Yeah.
As far as the question about utilities, one of the things that RJ Ryan has in their plan is to actually work with the village to make sure that, I mean, they'll do testing. They'll actually take a look at what the capacity is of sewer, what the capacity is in water. We actually had an issue when we moved out to Roberts. One of the reasons we picked Roberts is because we had city water and sewer, and we have a 300,000 square foot facility. You need to have a lot of pressure for fire suppression. We were 2/3 of the way into building that thing, and we failed a test. And RJ Ryan came to us and said, we got to put in our own fire suppression system. So we ended up footing a bill. It was like another $750,000. We had to dig underneath the building, put in 5 10,000 gallon tanks of water, and then put in our own uplift pumping system. We built our own fire suppression system
I'm sorry, Steve, here or wherever it is?
out in Roberts.
Roberts, sorry.
Yeah. So they couldn't deliver the water pressure we needed.
You're used to landmines.
Oh, yeah. We did, remember, well, maybe you don't remember, but we put $1.5 million into that site cleaning it up. So when we bought it, we went through the due diligence. Nobody had ever environmentally assessed that site prior, because the last time it was sold was back in the 50s. They didn't know what environmental assessments were back then. So when we got into it, we knew right away when we saw that one of the buildings was labeled paint shop, right? So they're painting the trains, and from the 1880s to the 1950s, that paint was all lead-based. So we knew we were going to have a problem. We went to the Wisconsin DNR and we did an open book, which is something that not a lot of people do. It's a lot of risk, because if we would have dug something up that we were unaware of, or we would have had an issue with the water table, for instance, it would have been on us to clean it up. It was open book. We went through it with the Wisconsin DNR. We ended up with a VAPL, which is it's a partnership with the state of Wisconsin that basically clears that. We got a clean bill of health after $1.5 million of lead cleanup. We got a clean bill of health for that. I think at the time it was 14 acres that we owned back there, and it was all cleaned up. And we basically ended up taking between 1 foot and 3 feet of topsoil from everywhere back there.
Oh, I remember that.
And got rid of the lead.
I've been there down to 30 years. I remember you guys doing that, yeah.
Yeah, it took us 2 years.
Yep.
2 years to clean that site up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very familiar with landmines. We were the ones that actually dug up so there was I don't know if anybody knew this, there was a water tower back there. We actually dug up where the water tower had been. Nobody knew it was there, even Zappa, who's been around forever and knows everything. We dug this thing up, and the well underneath the water tower had never been capped. So when we dug it up, it was open all the way to the water table. That stopped construction for about a month.
Wow. That's crazy.
So with timing, let's talk about that. I mean, 'cause I have another
So-
question for Paul after you. Yeah.
So our concern 2 nights ago when we came was that I wanted to get the roof done before the snow came. But as it turns out, talking to Tony, the inspector, he says, if we're just repairing the roof, I don't even need a permit for that. So if I get an indication from this group, and as we work through the conditional use permit, and I feel confident that everything is going to go okay as far as approvals go, we'll start in on the roof right away. All right, so that means construction, roof replacement would start probably in December. We're hoping to have the roof done, before we get into too much snow, too much winter condition. And then once that's done, once the roof is done, we'll build out the first 3 units, and we'll build out we'll clean up the 2-story. We'll do as much internal work as we can, and we'll wait until spring to start tucking the building, to clean up the brickwork.
They're gonna have to come back to us though for the use, all that stuff, right? Conditional use? Yeah.
I think we get another round.
Yeah, we'll get another round, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
know, the-
formally apply for the conditional use permit, and then it'll come to you, and it'll go to the board.
I've already submitted a draft of our conditional use permit to
Okay.
Suzanne and Gina, so they're helping us make sure that that's cleaned up. I'm hoping that we'll submit that hopefully tomorrow.
Oh,
Unless I feel a bad vibe from this group, we'll submit that tomorrow and we'll start running with that, and I'll be back in a month to get approval.
so,
Do you feel like this is like a phased, because I think this office section is quite a critical element in terms of the update of the entire facility, the two-story office.
Actually, so
Portion.
even though the plans, this was a concept by R.J. Ryan. So if you go to A2 and you look at that end where there's office suites up on top,
Yeah,
we're not doing that.
oh, okay.
Okay, so that second floor, so the concept here is, if the homeowners association, if this place fills up with the type of people we want it to fill up with, and they decide, hey, it'd be great if we could just like have an office upstairs, so we don't have to, I only have to go into our real office 2 days a week, and the other 3 days I can office out of the upstairs here. If they decide that they want to build out those offices as a homeowner association, they would come back and they would say, hey, we want to finish this second floor off and go through
So
the permitting process.
Some of that will be left unfinished, or
It'll be completely
Cleaned up.
cleaned up, and it'll be built out so that you can just put up the walls. It won't, everything, if you've ever been in that second story of that building.
yes, I have.
Yeah, okay. Well, right, we used to offer storage for like
Yeah.
the senior.
I remember
Yeah,
hauling
we go
in
up
all
there,
the senior
on that
party stuff in
Yeah, I was
there.
up there,
Oh, my
yeah.
gosh.
Robin,
Years
same,
and
I
years
was
and
there,
years.
yeah, it was,
Yep. So you've been up there, you know that it needs some work. And there's the elevator shaft,
Oh, yeah.
we'll fix the elevator shaft so that there's actually a working elevator in there. But as far as a build out of these individual offices.
Yeah.
No, that's not going to happen on the second floor. The first floor will be built out as pretty close to what the plan looks like. That'll be an easier build. And then we'll build, if you're looking at A1, we'll build out suites 119, 119, and 120. Those units will be built out as models, if you will. And then the rest of the units will be built to suit. We'll build them as we sell them.
Paul, you remember the conversation about TIF?
Yep.
Wouldn't this be the opportunity to start doing this?
I would love that.
We were going, Steve, this was part of this.
Yeah, it's an important, this is, I mean, to
Yeah,
get,
and we looked at that, and we looked at it with Ellers, and that,
It took time to get your money back, but we're talking,
yeah,
this is, to me, a huge step.
it is, there just wasn't a lot of increment that was gonna be generated,
I know.
was the
But-
real issue.
This would be.
How many bays you got here, you know?
20.
20 bays.
This could potentially bring the property value to $4 million.
Yes. This was never even consideration at the time. I know we looked at the whole area and we're going, okay, what was gonna be our revenue here, right here?
Yeah, and that's sort of what the problem was, we didn't know numbers, there wasn't an actual project, to look at, because you don't wanna start a TID, because they're a limited time without a project. Because they only go for 20 years, and if you start it, and it sits there for 5.
I know.
then You only have so much money to work with.
But this isn't the case here, I mean, yeah,
This ain't gonna sit for 5 years.
right.
I just look at this,
Look
and
at that.
I look at what the fellow that's got the computer business did to the office building over there.
yeah.
So we started out starting to get that place nice by, first that building got done, right? And that second floor of that building's done, the first floor, he's waiting to rent it out, I guess, before he does the first floor. But he's running his business out of there, so that's improved it. The first drive up, if we get the end, he does the end, okay, then all we gotta do is wait for the guy at the very front who's been a problem child for God knows how long. He can't drag on much longer, the rate he's going. So if we look at it, it's a great economic development area for the community.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody in this room to overlook the fact that he did do that to the historical registry. So when he got in trouble the first time, he tried to sell the building to me. And it was the first and last time I'll ever walk into that building because I was afraid the roof was going to cave in on me. It scared the hell out of me. The building on the south west end, where the roof has started to collapse,
Returns. It's got an L shape there?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it would cost to historically restore that, which is what, the reason that he's having so many problems is because he's hamstrung. He can't like just put in steel beams to shore up the roof and redo the roof any way that he wants. He has to do it historically.
Yeah.
So we're talking about wood timbers, we're talking about, it's a mess. And I recognized that right away when they were trying to sell the building. It's like, he put it on the registry in such a way that I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to fix that.
Can you go backwards on that?
I don't think you can.
Wow.
There'd have to be some kind of
There's gotta be a
deal or
way.
whatever
Otherwise, that
else.
building's gonna just collapse.
But
But going back to this TIF, whatever, I mean, Paul, we were looking at a larger area down that, not just this whole, storage area. There was gonna add some back closer to Galahad too, some of that area, but
Yeah, there was again, the trouble is when you have a village that's built out,
right.
hard to get that increment that makes it worthwhile to do
Yeah.
it.
What
And
is
this
this that
really
you're
is
talking
the area that if you were gonna do it.
I don't understand what you guys are talking about.
So it's a,
Tax increment.
yeah, it's a tax increment district. So what you do is you set up an area and you create this TID district, and you take a baseline of the value of the improvements and the land, and that sets the base. Then any improvements that are done to that base, that tax increment goes into, let's just say a fund.
A fund.
But it's not just the village tax, it's the school tax, it's the county tax. So the village can capture that whole increment for a period of 20 years and use it for redevelopment project incentives, like in Roberts, talking about. And that TID is doing very well.
Hudson
right
has
now,
one.
Because
Hudson
of
has
your.
an area, and Robert has an area.
Because of my building.
Yep,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
yep, and I think they're actually accelerating the payments to you on that.
Yeah, so one of the things, so you talk about the TID being 20 years or whatever, so that's all negotiable. Like, we negotiated all of the terms with the town of Roberts.
Yep.
In terms of how long, when it was paid back, how it was paid back, what percentage was paid back, so it's actually, we worked out with the town of Roberts a stepped approach. So it was accelerated on the front end, and then it just kind of goes into a glide path where they start actually getting a huge benefit out of the increased tax that we'll end up paying.
So the incentive there is to encourage more people like this to come in and develop in that
Yeah,
area.
or it's to, if you have to put larger sewer lines in.
Exactly.
larger Water lines in.
That
You
comes
can
back
use
to the
those
village,
funds
yeah.
to
Or a
do it.
fire suppression system.
Or a fire suppression system.
But I think we're landlocked over there, and
Well, the historical thing causes a factor to me that, I agree with them. There's some of these things that are marked to a certain,
It's just that one building. It's just the Bugatti building. And if there's a way that you can get it off of that, I don't know of a way. I haven't done the research to find out if you can actually get it off of it once it's at that level. But I think in order to save that building, we're gonna have to figure out a way to get it off of that.
yeah, they've been approached to buy it, but I think they've found out what.
Anybody that does the due diligence knows it's,
Right.
you're stuck.
And I don't know what the process would be.
well, I think this is a
I
great
haven't
plan.
experienced it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No, I'm
yeah, I
I'm
think it's
encouraged
great. I
by,
think it stays with our comprehensive plan that we have in motion for North Hudson. Doesn't affect, I don't see that we need it for anything. I don't think it's gonna affect negatively any of the property values or neighbors.
No.
I don't think it'll lessen the enjoyment or use of the adjacent properties. I think it will only add. This pretty much, it's serious noise, odors, no, nothing. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be cars going in and out, but that's normal. Cars, trucks, big vehicles go in and out there all the time, and this does not result in illegal spot zoning. It is public and it is a business.
you're gonna have to pick some nice looking garage doors, because that's the building.
I know.
Yeah, and there's
Maybe add some paint to accent the
let's-
windows down.
So let's say something happens to the Bugatti building where either it gets tore down, it becomes available without the restrictions that are on it today, blah, blah, blah. And so you've got the FAR building and you've got the building in between that, the concrete structured warehouse building.
Yep.
Would you continue to maintain that if you were able to procure all the three? I know nothing about the value of any of this stuff. Would you continue to maintain that as a warehouse building? If you were able to acquire the other two be able to do the other two buildings to go aside with the first one?
I'm not sure. So that, one of the problems with that building is that it's ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really ugly. It doesn't fit
it
there.
doesn't fit the core.
You know, it was the previous owners that tipped that up. They did it in a hurry.
It's raked precast.
Pardon me?
It's raked precast.
Yeah.
Raked textured.
Yeah, it's a really ugly building. Inside and out, it's ugly. I don't know. I mean, I would like to do something with Building 4 because it's the historic building. I think Building 5, it's utilitarian. I mean, it would be great if we could get something done with Building 4 and then, you know, maybe use some of the cash that comes out of Building 6 and Building 4, do something with Building 5, which would probably result in tearing Building 5 down and doing something different. But I've built office buildings before. I mean, that'd probably be a kind of a cool setting for an office building. So,
Can revamp that whole area.
Or simply green space. I mean, you could,
Have you heard what you wanted to hear?
I think so. I don't hear anybody thinking that this is a bad idea.
well, I think we're not here to make a motion or.
Right,
or
no,
make
no,
any
I'm just
movement,
looking
but
for
I think-
support.
Feedback.
I think we can all, we're really encouraged by, I know I myself personally, your investment would be a huge asset to that area.
It's not
And-
gonna
Massive
be-
project. I mean, it's an
Yeah.
acre of site between your first two
Yeah.
floors, so it's big.
Yeah. It's
I mean, and
I'll
I
share with you,
think,
it's $500,000 just to do the roof.
I think that idea of that getting occupied in,
Right, Rob.
in a usable, attractive way that creates revenue could be an impetus to a lot of other things. And I think it's kind of like one domino might create a windfall for
Yeah, it
us.
seems like the
Might get
first
something
positive
started.
change for.
I'm not gonna let Tid die. I'm bringing that baby back.
Well, no,
I
I think
like
it's a great idea. I mean, you're not,
I like
I mean,
it.
if we can help you, that's not a
Know
bad
somebody on
thing.
the
That'd be
board
awesome.
who was very passionate about this, and him and I are gonna be talking about this tomorrow. Yeah.
Good.
I think we just want to be as transparent and informative as we possibly can be, as early as we can.
Yep.
So that you know what the plan is, where this is all headed, so that when you ultimately have to deal with the CEP application, like, you know what it all is about.
What's your name? And
Sorry, Rory O'Sullivan. I'm the attorney for End Road Properties.
okay, thank
I
you.
take them along to keep me out of trouble.
So, I mean, like, even like the roof, like, we're gonna spend $500,000 on the roof. That's probably something we wouldn't do if there was a ton of objection from this group, you know? So that's what we're trying to discover, just trying to share about what the
Just-
project is.
And along with that, one of the reasons that we want to get this feedback is because to get into the building permitting, I have to submit detailed plans. Those detailed plans are going to cost me $40,000, just the plans for what we're going to do to the building. And that's a significant investment. It's not, I'm not going to burn $40,000 if I'm going to end up running into a brick wall and having the town say, no, we don't want you doing that. So as much feedback as far as I can get along with the conditional use permitting before I have to spend that kind of money to send the plans to the inspector, I want to do that.
And you're gonna stay with this concept of, like your picture,
Exactly the picture. Yep.
Yeah.
When they gave me the elevations, I was like, this is exactly what I was thinking.
This is a significant investment for you, obviously, with great potential for the village in terms of improving that land.
Yep.
So, looking forward, are there things the village can do or should do, or you would like them to do to help you with your project?
If there was one thing, yeah, Tid'd be awesome. But if there's one thing, to me, the time that we've been back there, it's been really unclear to me who owns Monroe Street after you get past the stop sign. And everything that I've been able to dig up, it's kind of like, it's a public road, obviously, because, we have so much traffic back. People that are just coming back to have their high school pictures taken by the nice buildings, and people that come by and drop off their old boats that they don't want. Yeah, that's illegal dumping, by the way. But all of that stuff that happens, to me, it feels like a public road. And yet, I don't think the town has any ownership of that road. I think that they depend on everybody, all of the owners back there kind of maintaining that. And I would like, if that's the case, then I think that the town would be served by, I hate to say this, forcing the owners of there to come together as an association of some sort to maintain that road, keep it plowed, et cetera, or for the town to take ownership of the road.
How far back does it get plowed by the town?
It doesn't.
Village doesn't plow it.
Not at all.
Nope,
No.
not a bit.
And
So
then-
it stops, that stop sign that's on the corner there,
Yeah.
beyond that stop sign,
Who placed the signs up, Steve? Basically saying you can't even walk your dog down there now. Was that Badger?
yeah, I'm not aware of those signs. So it would be Badger State, it would have been something after us. Where are those signs at?
Pretty much when you enter in, I walk that area. I see them.
Oh, that's gotta be Badger
That's
State.
really Badger. I'm
Okay.
looking at the map, that's their land, that first part is Badger's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you see it when you drive in, so you don't know if it's going to be from right to left. So I'm just, it is what it is. But yeah.
When we were down there, we had all the cameras up, and we had, the police department had access to our
Yep.
cameras. I don't know if Badger State allows that or not, but we let them have access to the camera, and
I know that.
there's some great stories about stuff that's happened down there after dark.
And you can share?
Monroe Street is not a publicly owned, that
I gotta be honest,
extension of Monroe is not a publicly owned entity.
I know.
Property lines
Stop
on
at-
ownership of
stop
lots
at
back
Fourth.
there.
Yeah, right.
Through it.
Yeah, the property owners own to the middle
It
of
stops right
whatever
at the stop
that
sign,
driveway
Yeah.
is.
And there's no,
I'm just looking on the GIS
there's
site.
no consensus. I mean, so because we were running the warehouse out of there, we plowed that. We plowed the whole thing out. We tried to get the neighbors to contribute, like, hey, we're plowing the road for everybody, and they were like, no.
No easement there.
Looks like it
No,
ends.
They knew
just
that we had to
stop.
plow
Fourth
it.
Street's the end of
Because
it.
we had to get our trucks in and out
Fourth
of there.
Street is the end.
I like
I ride
that.
my bike through there every day during the summer, and every time I drive by that building, I'm like, this would be perfect car condos. I mean, I've been doing that for 2 years, riding my bike down there, and every time I go by that last building, see those cinder blocked up doors, I'm like, God, this is such a waste. It's got such great character
Yep.
and such great opportunity. And I'm just
What's
glad
the
to
name
see
of it?
that,
It
that
calls
there's
for
somebody that's willing to invest in our community to make something like that happen, so.
Exactly.
Thanks.
That is very strange, even though the road, the name on the GIS site,
Yeah.
Monroe Street keeps crawling along the common property line like it exists, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
I like
Like
that
Monroe Street
concept of
exists.
maybe getting an association together and state the fact is that, hey, you got to maintain this area.
Yeah.
Especially as more businesses are down there.
Yeah.
Why should it be falling on one person to kindly do it?
Center line.
We'll bring that back.
I have a question procedurally. After tonight, will this concept come back to this?
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
When
it'll
it-
come back as a conditional use permit application.
I would like to suggest that the village spend a little due diligence into finding out the status of Monroe in that area. Is there a street that the village is responsible for? If not, we should say that. And secondly, can the village in the future, if this is all built out, do that? Make that part of the condition.
Well, one of the owners back there is the village, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was
The
just
park
gonna say.
backs right up to what is called Monroe Street, right across from Building 5. And, yeah,
dump
there's
debris there.
there's a pretty big
Trees.
chunk
Street
of land
debris,
there.
and, yeah, they dump street debris there
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I'm surprised they don't plow it, because they couldn't get to their own stuff if it wasn't plowed.
Nope.
There were times when we were in there that they waited for us to plow.
Do you have Zappa plow it for you?
No, we had our own plow service, a guy by the name of,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, some guy from Troy Township. Young kid.
And the conditional use permit is only being requested for this address specifically, not the entire 6.3 acres or
Correct.
whatever's there.
Yep, yep.
See, what the ordinance says, is, like, it's a permitted use, so we wouldn't even have to ask if we were trying to do storage facilities, partitioned or unpartitioned, for rental to wholesale or retail customers. But it's a conditional use, because it's just for rental that we have the permitted use for, like a mini storage.
Yeah.
So it's a conditional use, we'll be asking for other industrial uses similar in nature to the permitted industrial uses. So instead of being rented, it's going to be owned. It's the only difference, you know?
Yeah, otherwise, The other interesting piece too is that in the conditional use permit, the categories are commercial, industrial, multifamily, residential. And so I asked, I don't fit into any of these. It's not going to be commercial, it's not going to be industrial, it's not going to be multifamily, and it's not going to be a residence. So how do I fill this out? Because we're going to have to submit a condominium plat. It doesn't fit in any of the categories. So they were doing the research today to try and figure out like how I'm going to actually fill out the rest of the application is filled out except for that piece.
Well, if it turns out like St. Joe Township, they end up taxing you at the rate that it's a residential condo, not a storage condo. And you end up getting raped, at least I feel I'm being way overtaxed on the property on mine. And every time we try to appeal it, they don't have a storage condo category, they only have a condo category, which is a residential condo.
Yeah, you don't even have that. Thank
these are-
goodness.
Can't live there.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, you can't stay
From
there.
what it sounds.
Yeah, you can't live there. I mean, same kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're being sold at the same price at around $200 a square foot, so,
Yep.
I mean, that's the price of a condo.
Yeah.
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 I think we're benefiting the fact that we don't have the own in that thing, because now we actually get to look at this individual units and potentially get the tax back. Because if we had that owned in there, he could go ahead and do the activity that he wanted to do, and would we see that?
Well, you wouldn't have seen it as a conditional use permit, but you would have seen the property be reassessed on a unit by unit basis.
Okay.
And because there's going to be a purchase agreement with
Okay.
each one of those that gets reported to the county.
County, yep.
You're going to see exactly, the value is going to ratchet up with every sale.
Yeah, because every unit's gonna get its own tax ID number, like its own parcel ID number.
TID, man, this is all speaking TID, I'm telling you. We researched this, we did this, we spent months looking at this.
Yeah, we looked at it twice.
Can I get your phone number? I want to start texting
But the
you.
two of us looked at this heavily. We had conference calls after conference calls about this. Like you said, Roberts doesn't,
Yeah.
and I know
Well,
Hudson
yeah.
doesn't.
Well, and you got people, and they're paying school tax on those buildings, and there's no kids.
Yeah.
And there's never gonna be any kids. So the school district's getting revenue off it too.
Yeah.
Sounds like a slam dunk.
And they can pay to be in the Pepperfest parade. All right, we ready to go on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
really
thanks.
all we can
Thank you,
do.
guys.
I think,
See you
thanks,
guys.
appreciate it. Thank you, yes. Sorry I didn't
If by chance
recognize you
you
right
want
off the bat.
If you want the restrictions for the one I got, I put that in.
Yes.
You know Paul Jurgensen? Paul Jurgensen, he built about 20 of them around the metro area.
Okay.
So with that being the end of our business, I would take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
And seconded?
A second.
Second.
Too new to that.
Ryder and
Anderson.
Anderson. Thank you.
Anderson seconded. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Good luck.